How are you?
Whoa, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to see you. I mean, this is weird, but
too,
it's still
man.
lovely to see you.
I know. It's not the same, but you know,
Last thing, can you get
we're
me an
lucky.
eggplant?
First of all, it would be kind of strange.
I'm so happy to see you.
Oh, you too. You too.
Like really, it's so nice to see you. I love you, Zane. Like I'm
love you
happy that we're doing this, and I think music's powerful, and I know you feel that way, and I'm just super excited to talk to you.
Oh, me too. I've been waiting for this moment because, I think the world wants to hear this album. I think the delay only increased the anticipation, and I know that wasn't by design, but it's funny how life works that way. And also because I haven't done anything like this yet. And this feels like a kind of new frontier in terms of this because we've been doing it via FaceTime the whole time. But it just feels like this is like a major step forward for some reason. I don't know why. It must feel kind of nice just to go into the studio and actually be doing something resembling work. You know what I mean?
It's a super interesting time. It's been a very difficult time for a lot of people, and we stopped the drop of the record and everything that we were doing because I really wanted to be more specific at one point. I wanted to do something to help the world that was very focused, and working with the World Health Organization and Global Citizen was a way for me to talk about kindness and the things that I believe in a very focused way, as opposed to a more abstract way, which for me is what Chromatica is. It's this beautiful abstraction of my perception of the world. And I just wanted to wait for a second and do something specific. And then when it felt appropriate, I was like, okay, we can get abstract.
Well, it's funny as well because it feels weird to be promoting anything, and it just feels like it should be a selfless time and we should all be outward looking, not inward looking, and find a way to kind of be more connected to people as a whole. And I feel that is very much the statement you made too.
I do think it's important to look inside at all times as well. Self-care and taking care of your, mental health, I think helps you to take care of other people.
For sure.
And actually, I'm not really promoting. I view this conversation as something that I would want to do anyway. I mean, you know how I feel about your perception of music and how it affects people in the world. What I think is most effective right now, for what it's worth, is simple messaging that is either kind in nature or thought-provoking in nature, that speaks to where we are as a society and as a culture, where, I really believe that we're operating within a very rudimentary system. And in the Stupid Love video, red and blue are fighting. Could decidedly, if you wish it to be, a political commentary, and it's very divisive. The way that I see the world is that we are divided, and that it creates for a very tense environment that is very extremist, and it's part of my vision of Chromatica, which is to say that this is not dystopian and it's not utopian. This is just how I make sense of things, is Chromatica, and I wish for that to be a message that I can translate to other people.
It is a world, though. I mean, like you say, it kind of straddles both sides, and it stands in the middle, and it's observant. Chromatica is an observation.
Yep.
But I feel like with the video, and when you're drawn into the world, your world, but it's also it's like a sharing experience as well as a caring experience for you. It's both. And I wonder, what you're hoping we get out of that, because we're going to talk about what you've gotten out of it. But what do you want people to get out of listening to this album right now?
I wish to go on a journey that I've been on with the world before, which is when I know that I've opened my own creative portal to the other realm and made music out of my own personal experiences that is also related to how much I love people and love the world and what I want them to feel and experience. I was just talking to my friends, and I was saying, I can't wait to dance with people to this music. I can't wait to just go into any space with a whole bunch of people and blast this as loud as possible to show them how much I love them. And until then, I hope that they listen to this record and go on not only my personal journey with me and dance through all the pain, but also go through their own journey and dance through all their pain. And maybe there will be some arc within that sign that aligns us both. And so from afar, how can we connect?
You've danced before, and in fact, you made the world dance when you first came out and started to release music officially. And we've talked about this and how important, putting Four on the Floor back on radio and how it felt like people used to come to your early tours and dance, and it was a release. And I felt like until Chromatica and since Art Pop, you haven't been dancing. I'm sure you have, but it hasn't felt like you have with us. And I wonder why that was.
I don't know that I was dancing in my brain, in my heart, in my spirit. I think I felt very turned around in life. And I'm always remiss to talk about like my personal experience with fame or my personal experience with being an artist that's by proxy because of pop culture also a celebrity, right? But the truth is, I think that I was trying to make sense of my humanity within a system that is the music industry that decidedly is also objectifying. I mean, that objectification makes me feel like a robot, and that you start to act like one. And once you start to act like that robot, you lose a sense of your humanity. And through writing this album, I would be so sad, and then I would hear myself sound happy in a song, and I'd go, wait a second, this is completely incongruent, and yet it came from me. So how did that just happen?
Which is so funny because it's often the subconscious goes the other way in the artistic spirit. Often you're feeling happy on the outside, surface distractions, all the things you've built for yourself, this world you created that tells you you're happy and safe and successful. And the music that's coming out is subconsciously sad and depressed. It's very rare that I've spoken to an artist at your level that was having a subconscious joyful experience, or striving at least to find joy subconsciously and not forcing it.
You're dead on. I was subconsciously experiencing joy. And what I've learned about the brain is that while that's happening, if you have extensive trauma or any mental issues like the ones that I have, your unconscious, as you are becoming joyful, goes, no, stop what you're doing, come back to me, I am your sadness. If you become happy, you are unsafe. And this goes back to this idea of objectification where, it's like one of these weird things, Zane. Like, I really do understand why people go, like, it's so annoying when artists complain about being mobbed at the grocery store, right? But I am also, like, just a person. And what happened, I think, with me and this album is on a subconscious level, I was experiencing joy, while consciously I was experiencing an immense amount of depression as a result of this objectification, a lack of feeling like a human. And then unconsciously, my body was like, stop, like, you're making a mistake. If you don't brace yourself, you will get hurt, because I've developed a fear of the public, but not a fear of people. I love people. So this album is about like how did I get back to people, and how do I connect with people and go like, hey, I'm over here, I'm a person, I'm an artist, like, I'm not a celebrity. Whatever this thing is, this celebrity thing, it's like I wish to eradicate its existence.
And that's an amazing observation, because I think a lot of the reason why we as fans get confused about the trade, because the trade is, you want this. You put so much effort and so much attention and so much hyper-focus into driving your narrative into a place where you become successful, because what you really dream for and you focus on, you get. And then we take your narrative away and we tell you this is what you wanted. This is what you asked for.
Yeah, because when you were a little girl and you were good at piano and writing songs, you decided you were going to trade your talent with the world in exchange for us telling you who you are.
Yeah.
It's proven to be challenging for me. I'm not complaining about it. To be honest, when this super virus happened, I did not want to put this album out. I was like, how can we do something more specific to help the world? And how can I use my humanity to focus on something that I believe to be infinitely more important than what even like I feel that I've been through, which is what the medical community's done. And it made me also think about those helpers to the world and how their mental states are and how they don't necessarily have the help that they need. And after this is all, over, whatever that means, or gets better, whatever that means, who's going to be there to support them? So I had to stop because I still do have the ability and perspective to put things that are bigger in before myself. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
It does.
Like I don't lack self-awareness. I do understand that I'm not the only human on the planet that suffers. And actually, I think I have it pretty fucking good. And I'm very grateful for what I have. But I'm also honest in being able to say, I wrote a song on Chromatica called 911, and it's about an antipsychotic that I take. And it's because I can't always control things that my brain does. I know that, and I have to take medication to stop the process that occurs.
Are these the dolls in the diamond boxes?
Yeah, keep my dolls in side diamond boxes, save it till I know I'm going to drop this front I've built around me oasis. Paradise is in my hands, holding on so tight to this status. It's not real, but I'll try to grab it. Keep myself in beautiful places. Paradise is in my hands.
So that song arrives at a crucial moment in the album, which is around halfway, and at the start of the second act. And I love how Chromatica is broken up into 3 acts.
Yeah.
The first act starts with one of the most beautiful string arrangements that I've heard in a very, very long time. I mean,
thank you.
I'm getting goosebumps just describing it.
That makes me so happy. Me and Morgan made that.
It's so incredible, and the transition into Alice is so perfect. What does that string arrangement at the start, Chromatica 1, what does that symbolize for you?
I think that the beginning of the album really symbolizes for me what I would call to be the beginning of my journey to healing, and what I would hope would be an inspiration for people that are in need of healing, through happiness, through dance, and that's in what I would call radical acceptance. And radical acceptance is this concept that, for example, I know that I have mental issues. I know that they can be sometimes rendering me non-functional as a human, but I radically accept that this is real, right? And so it goes right into this sort of like this grave string arrangement that Morgan and I made together, where you feel this sort of pending doom that is what happens if I face all the things that scare me. And I say then for Alice, I say my name isn't Alice, but I'll keep looking for Wonderland, meaning I'm not giving up. I'm not throwing in the towel. It's very early on in all of this, I had some dark conversations with Blood Pop about how I felt about life.
And the first lyric on the album official is, "Could you pull me out of this alive?"
Yeah, I mean, I meant it, and I still mean it.
I know there are times when physically we reflect what's going on mentally and emotionally, and it becomes a physical reaction. It's called a panic attack. But it all starts with this unless, of course, you're under physical threat. For the most part, when we suffer from mental health issues, which I do as well, it starts from something internal. And is that ultimately what you're looking to be pulled out of? I mean, it's an eeny, meeny, miny, mo, but for me, it was like, pull me out of my mind, pull me out of my state.
Yeah, I say, could you pull me out of this alive? Meaning anyone, right?
Exactly.
Or me, can I, right? Where's my body? I'm stuck in my mind. When I get stuck in that, like, that trauma response feedback in my brain. I have no concept of my body at all. I'm completely in my head. And then I say, I'm tired of screaming at the top of my lungs, things I used to do upstairs before I'd come down into the studio with Blood Pop. I'm in the hole, I'm falling down, so down. My name isn't Alice, but I'll keep looking for Wonderland. So it's kind of this, it's this weird experience where I'm going, I'm not sure I'm gonna make it, but I'm gonna try. And that's where the album really begins. And we put it together in this way, but that string arrangement, Chromatica 1, Act 1, it's essentially setting the stage for like a more cinematic experience with this world that is how I make sense of things. How do I make sense of myself when I feel this way? I make sense of it by going, this is a mental issue. I radically accept that I have it. And although I feel completely disconnected and offline, I am still going to pursue Wonderland. I'm still going to look for something that I do not have right now. And maybe it is through just simply trying. I think that being brave is hard, but it's synonymous in many ways with trying.
I totally agree. This album has so much yearning in it. And that's what I love about it, is that we're all on this path in our own way. And, you know, I think back timeline-wise to art pop. That was a big, bold, massive artistic pop statement that at the time felt like it kind of divided. It divided, and fans loved it, and critics were confused by it, and it felt like such a huge step towards the club, almost a giant leap, right? That people were just like, whoa, crazy.
It was too soon.
It was too soon. And that's what I was going to say. In a weird way, this feels kind of like it's related, and you had another crack at it. Like, I can actually nail what I set out to do last time. Is that fair?
I think culture was just like more ready now than they were then. Art pop was very rebellious. I would not adhere to one look. I would adhere to every look. I said my art pop could mean anything. And when I, as an artist, raise my hand and go, I will not subscribe to any archetypical behavior just because it makes the world comfortable, they go, you, I'm not comfortable. and to be honest, I went through a phase which I stand by. I stand by everything I've done. Like when I am an old lady and I'm on my deathbed, I'll know that my legacy is authentic because I've always made things that felt true to me. And perhaps in that moment, I knew in some type of way, subliminally, that we would be having this conversation years later, that it would all be okay because it was real, it happened, and it is relevant. And what I'm making now is it's a reminder of the freedom that I have as an artist, but also my absolute love for electronic music, my absolute love for the ability for a computer to make something that is
soulful,
so visceral and soulful. I mean, the bulk of this album was made inside a computer. I mean, I played with modular synth, I played with real synth. I gave Blood Pop, what I would play on the piano. We'd input it as MIDI, and then we would play with inversions and produce the record and make the song. And then, I mean, I gotta say, Zane, I've been in this business a long time. I've never seen so many producers be willing to pass around music and be like, what do you think, man? And have it be a conversation. And if we didn't use somebody's production, it was no big deal. It was like everybody was in service of the song, which made me feel so loved as the writer. Because when I write a song, I want it to sound the best that it could be. I also want it to interpret what I'm saying the best that it can interpret it. And it was like this beautiful way of my friends saying, I see you, and me having this talk with them about how to get me out of this alive. And at Blood Pop every day, I quit smoking.
Yeah, you told me that last time, like it was a big deal.
I did.
That would suggest you started again, and now it's I quit again statement.
No, I didn't start again.
Whole time?
Whole time. I mean, not even one, man. Because like, quitting is so hard.
It's hard, man. It's hard, man. I smoked for a long time, and it's tough.
It's hard, but you know what? I would sit on my porch and chain smoke all day, and blood would be like, let's go downstairs and you need to get off your porch. And I was like, you don't understand how I feel, what I've been through. And I was in this this endless state of like, I'm being attacked. And I smoked the whole way through making this record. And when we were done, I stopped. It was like the most bizarre, beautiful thing that could have happened, that this music actually healed me. And the last act, of the album is a song called Sign from Above, as you know, that I did with Elton, and a song called Babylon. And, we use a sign from above, SINE, because it's a sound wave. It's, that sign from above is what healed me to be able to dance my way out of this album, singing Babylon, a song about gossip and something that used to run my life, and make me feel so small and so chained, and dance my way with the chains on. I'm wearing them right now, and I wear them proudly, that I feel free. And I had to go through all these various stages. And in the middle of the record, Fun Tonight, which is a song that means a lot to me. And every time I listen to it, I get choked up, because I can't tell you how many nights that people that really love me were trying to get me to smile or laugh or be optimistic. And I just had no ability to be happy. It just wasn't there. But then I would write this music and I would listen back and I'd go, why is that so fun? Why is that so happy?
But when we spoke around Joanne, and I don't mean to rehash, old interviews, but I'm trying to create context. You went home, like you literally, like Art Pop landed. You were like, "Fuck you. This is who I am. Now I'm going to play with my friend Tony, and then I'm going home." And you went home and you made an album about home. And when artists go home, I think they're looking for some closure. And I wonder what you found and why you came out of that space, went into A Star Is Born, which is just art imitating life. Don't even get me started. And then you sort of came out the other side of this whole era, which is supposed to be healing, and found yourself on a porch chain smoking, having this really deep, dark conversation with yourself. Why?
Well, I think it's part of what is still in my heart and was a beautiful experience with Mark Ronson, which is that, the only album that Mark is interested, I think, in making with any given artist is the artist's album.
Yeah.
What do you want to say? Right? I mean, Mark is he might as well be standing in front of any construct that's telling me what I'm supposed to be and slashing at it and challenging me as I write every lyric to be like, no, what do you really mean? Right? And when I made Joanne, when it was all done, traveling the world and playing guitar, learning guitar, and going on tour, I realized, oh wow, okay. I made an album for my dad. I made a record trying to heal my family's trauma, because my dad's sister, Joanne, passed away when he was 15 years old. And he didn't know how sick she was. And it was actually this really beautiful and yet futile effort. You cannot fix something that way. And I had to learn that. But it was an epic disappointment in my heart that drove me into a depression, that I realized that no matter what I make, no matter how big I become, no matter how many sold out stadiums I have, I can't fix my dad. And then you're on the porch smoking. And look, it's like those are the things that I feel like I go, that who gives a shit if I'm a celebrity or an artist? How many people on the planet are trying to fix somebody they love? How many people on the planet are trying to understand how they can heal someone that is broken? How many people on the planet are enmeshed with people that they love because they are pining for a greatness that will never be fulfilled? Like I had to detach from something that from childhood was built into me. I mentioned epigenetics to you when I was in our last call. It's like the way in which my body expresses itself, like on a level with proteins, essentially, is that there is potentially, like I don't want to be like a fucking pseudoscientist, but potentially the way that I behave and act has something to do with what my dad went through. And I made that record, and then I realized that I couldn't fix my dad, so I kind of gave up, because I was like, well, if I can't fix my dad, what's the point?
So what put you back?
The sound, the music, being myself, just seeing little glimpses of myself come alive here and there. I'd like to say that in a way I was asleep. And I was just sleeping through life. And I was just angry. I was so angry. And then you find gratitude. Look at what I have. Look at the love I have around me. Look at the friends that I have that cared. Blood Pop was like, he would listen to me talk for hours and rant when I was just like spiraling in shame for hours. And then just so that we could write one song. And that love instilled in me a gratitude that grew over time, and it just made me more of a fighter. And I just started to lean into reality, lean into my mental issues and go, I have them and I'm still going. And so I kept going, and then I kept going, and then I kept going, and I kept dancing, and I kept writing. And I didn't stop, and I was honest every single time. I mean, when I tell you that writing the lyrics for this album and the melodies, like it was like that. I mean, this is how I used to write music. When I first started writing music, someone would sit down with me and I would write it down on a piece of paper and hand it to them and go, this is what it is. This is how this album was made.
I love that you say that, because it shows a real connection to your artistic spirit and the voice that needed to come out. But you also, in the same breath, made mention of the hours and hours and hours and hours of work that you were doing to yourself, not on yourself at the time, doing to yourself. You were beating yourself up to get to that place where you would have one single realization, and that is work. That is work.
Yeah. Well, I would just fight through it, and I had Blood Pop and Benjamin Rice, who produced "Shallow" with me, engineered the whole record. He did all the vocal production, and he's such just a beautiful force in my life. And one of my favorite lyrics on the album is, I heard one sign from above. I heard one sign from above. Then the signal split in two. The sound created stars like me and you. Before there was love, there was silence. I heard one sign, and it healed my heart. Heard a sign. So like that song, and that was actually like later in the recording process that I actually was like, and now let me pay tribute to the very thing that has revived me, and that is music. And that was the very thing that revived me, Zane, when I was a little girl and I was trying to heal my dad. And I would sit at the piano and write songs, and my dad would go from being upset maybe or having a hard day to laying on the couch and saying, my dad used to call me Loopy, which is funny because it's not unlike Gaga, it sounds kind of crazy. And he'd go, yeah, Loop, I like that one. That's a good one, Loop. That's that, what is that? Is that a chord? That's a chord. Play that chord again. And I love that lyric. I love that melody. So like the very thing that made me an artist, this wanting to heal my father, it's still with me, but now it's this positive thing where I know that I can't actually do it, but the way in which I responded to it, it has actually made me who I am. And I love who I am. I love that my way of dealing with my father's pain is that I write songs.
That was beautiful. That was a moment for me hearing you say that. That was amazing. That was like realization on a plate. Rain on Me.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy shit. What a smash. Ariana was so effusive the other day and said that you are an incredibly like generous collaborator, like a supportive collaborator, that you go into the experience making sure that not only you're performing at the highest level, but you're giving people a safe space where they can be a part of it. And it's not just come and do your part and I appreciate it. Like, be a part of this experience.
For sure, Matt. Thank you, Ariana. She's not on the call with us, but her and I connected right away. And she was so wonderful. And I think maybe she assumed that it would be that she came in and I was like, here, just sing this and thank you so much for your time, right? But instead, I asked her what she needed, how she wanted to do things. I was, when we were vocally producing her, I was sitting there at the, not this console. We were at Jim Henson when we finished. I was sitting at the console and talking to her. And then I remember I said to her, okay, now everything that you care about while you sing, I want you to forget it and just sing. And by the way, while you're doing that, I'm gonna dance in front of you because we had this huge big window. I was like, I'm gonna dance in front of you. And she was like, oh my God, I can't, I don't know, oh my God, okay. And then I did it and she sang and she started to do things with her voice that was different. And it was the joy of two artists going like, I see you and I see all the things that humans do this. We create things that make us feel comfortable and we put them all around. I do it all the time. We all do things to make ourselves feel safe. And I always challenge artists when I work with them. I go, make it unsafe, make it super fucking unsafe and then do it again. And it was just awesome to watch her you haven't seen the video yet, but she was like so open to trying things that she hasn't done before. She was like, I'm gonna just trust you. And it was this beautiful, I think very healing process for me too, not necessarily having a female artist that mentored me as I came up and being able to be with her and hold her and be like, anything that you feel chains you, like any pop cultural construct that you feel you have to live up to, I'd like you to please forget about it and be yourself. And she was like...
Yeah, it's an amazingly important observation because I wondered whether or not subconsciously or maybe consciously, part of the reason you wanted to collaborate with her was because of the courage and the bravery that she has shown in recent years to try to pull herself out of some really traumatic experiences. And, in a weird way, what I hear in Rain on Me is two artists finding each other and sharing that experience.
For sure. That woman has been through some really tough, really hard life-testing stuff. Undoubtedly, and her ability to move on. I mean, when she came into the studio, I was still crying and she was not. And she was like, you're gonna be okay. Call me, here's my number. And she was so persistent. She would try over and over again to be friends with me. And I was too ashamed to hang out with her because I didn't want to project all of this negativity onto something that was healing and so beautiful. And eventually she called me on my shit. She was like, you're hiding. And I was like, I am hiding. I'm totally hiding. And then this friendship blossomed and the song Rain on Me, the lyrics that I wrote right here in this studio, I'd rather be dry, but at least I'm alive. Rain on me. This is about an analog of tears being like the rain. And you know what it's also a metaphor for is the amount of drinking that I was doing to numb myself. I'd rather be dry. I'd rather not be drinking, but I haven't died yet. I'm still alive. Rain on me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to keep on drinking. This song has many layers.
I wondered about that, and I wondered because when we take ourselves to these places where we feel shame, and that is the stone cold killer Shame is the stone cold destroyer of everything. And when you take yourself to
100%.
that place, then we search for anything that will distract us from our shame. And I wondered whether or not it got bad, the drinking, and whether maybe medication or any other crutch came into your life and how bad it got.
I mean, I have really, really dope doctors, so they won't give me any narcotics. So to be clear, when I say pop a 911 on this album, it is not an opioid or a narcotic. Like, I don't take any pain medication because it's not healthy for me. But I've flirted with the idea of sobriety. I'm not there yet, but I flirted with it throughout the album, and it's something that came up as a result of me trying to work through the pain that I was feeling. But part of my healing process was going, well, I can either lash the hell out of myself every day for continuing to drink, or I can just be happy that I'm still alive and keep going and feel good enough. Like, I am good enough. It's not perfect, but wabi-sabi, I'm perfectly imperfect. In me saying, yes, do I think it's unfair that celebrities are like put in this place where we're not allowed to have problems? Yes, but at that same time, I would like to validate the problems of all these other people that are not famous, right? And then also validate the fact that, like, on the internet and through social media, we have created these, millions upon perhaps billions of enigmas that are avatars of who we are online in order to deal with ourselves. And it's part of how we feel safe, but it's turning on us, and it begins to turn on you because you start to feel
It's a
shameful.
false economy.
It's a totally false economy, and the currency is shallow as fuck, right? It's like you can't be pretty enough on Instagram. You can't be thin enough. You can't be hot enough. You can't be rich enough. You can't be. I mean, if you're not in it for impact, like if you're not like famous because you're trying to help the world or make an impact on the world, the return on what you're putting in is a like, and that is a bottomless pit. That is like you are literally circling the drain going, oh, I'm valuable if I get a ton of likes. No, that is not what makes you valuable. What makes you valuable are your values, your morals, your ethics, your code, how you act, how you treat people, your behavior. That's what makes you who you are, not how many people like your post.
Well, once you realize that, once you come to that conclusion and you identify that, there are more significant tent poles you should be planting rather than the ones that are planted for you or that seem to move, and they move with the wind, you get to a point where you become free. And I woke up this morning and the song that was rolling around in my head from this album, right, was Free Woman. That is the one that just stuck in my head so much. There's so many earworms in that song. It's crazy, but also the sentiment of what you're saying. And I feel like it's an important step in that album because it feels like you're taking control of your narrative. You've accepted, you've let go through Rain on Me. Let go. I accept it. Now I feel some form of freedom. That this is the dance floor I fought for. That whole lyrical refrain in that verse from that line all the way to the chorus is one of the best bodies of words on the album, I think.
Thank you so much. I think I tend to aspire for things to be genderless just because I think that it's significant. But with that song in particular, I felt a need to reference my gender because even though I really have a tremendous disdain for people that attribute gender or sexual identity to your personality. Like, I hate that. If someone says oh, your personality's masculine, I'm like, what does that even mean? It just doesn't make sense to me. But it was so important for this to be Free Woman because I was assaulted by a music producer. I was sexually assaulted by a music producer. It's compounded all of my feelings about life, feelings about the world, feelings about the industry, feelings about what I had to compromise and go through to get to where I am. And I had to put it there. And when I was able to finally celebrate it, I said, you know what? I'm not nothing without a steady hand. I'm not nothing unless I know I can. I'm still something if I don't got a man. I'm a free woman. So it's me going, I'm free, but it's not it's not just because I'm a free woman. Look at me. I found gratitude and everything is Zen. I no longer am going to define myself as a survivor or a victim of sexual assault. Like, I just am a person that is free who went through some fucked up shit.
I mean, that song is such a powerful statement and such an important song and so wild that we're dancing to it. It's almost the perfect embodiment of what you're trying to achieve with this album, is to go so deep and so raw and pull it open and let it all go and get to a place of acceptance and move past it and grow as a human and get to a new era of your life. But I'm going to dance while I do it.
Yeah, I say this is the dance floor I fought for. A heart, I know that's what I'm living for. Light up my body and kiss me too hardly. I walk the downtown, hear my sound. This is my way of saying, like, I'm making a dance record again, and this dance floor, it's mine, and I earned it, and all that stuff that I went through, I don't have to feel pain about it anymore. It can just be a part of me, and I can keep going. And I can't tell you, like, how healing this was for me. I could cry about it, except I'm actually feeling so much more healed now that laugh away from the tear feeling is not even as much there. When I first started talking about this album, I would cry like in between every interview. And now I go, well, you know, it turns out if you believe in yourself, sometimes you're good enough. And it turns out that's possible. And I would love for people that listen to this record to feel and hear that. And I also wish to say that, you know, not every country around the world, not every place has at their disposal what many of the things that we are talking about, pop cultural constructs, internet constructs, political constructs that pertain specifically to America or certain types of governments. But what we do share is life experiences. And what I can share is that if there is even a tiny spark inside of you that is still alive and beating and saying, hey, I'm okay, everything else isn't, but right over here, this part, it's okay, grab it. Grab it and hold on to it. And it is possible that if you do, it will light you up in a way that you do not think you can be lit up. It will bring you back to life if you believe in yourself. And it's really hard to always believe in yourself, but I hope that I can make people feel in some type of way that because I did, maybe they can too.
Well, you started out trying to heal everybody, but then you ended up right back staring at yourself. And what's amazing, and this may be the most personal question I've ever asked you, but I think it's a beautiful thing where you're at, and I'm going to go there. One of the things that's most evident to us when we find clarity is the decisions we made in our lives and the way that we self-sabotage in order to punish ourselves.
Yeah.
And we make dumb decisions because we don't know any better, and we think we're dumb, and that's what we deserve. And they're decisions that get made right across the whole spectrum of your life. But it's a human desire to be loved and to love.
Yep.
And now that you've come out the other side of making this album, you are in a situation where you're discovering a new love. Can you describe how it feels and how different it is knowing yourself better now?
I think I forgive myself. I forgive myself for all the ways I've punished myself in private. You know, I've been open about the fact that I, you know, used to cut. And I've been open about the fact that have had masochistic tendencies that are not healthy, and they're ways of expressing shame, they're ways of expressing feeling not good enough, but actually they're not effective. They just make you feel worse. And you think that you deserve to be hurt, and you think that you don't deserve good things. You think you don't deserve happiness. And, you know, I have these like scars on my wrists, and like it's been something that's kind of bothered me for years when I've seen when I was younger. I don't really read the internet anymore, to be honest, but when I was younger, I would see people write like like those scars on her arm are disgusting. And that makes you feel even worse because it makes no sense why someone that feels sad would want to hurt themselves. And to a lot of people, that makes no sense. To me, it makes a lot of sense. Once I made deals with myself, like you're not doing that anymore. Now, when you want to hurt yourself and if you want to throw yourself against the wall, like, and scream, you tell someone. I wish to not glamorize this in any way to anyone that's listening to this interview or watching this interview. You do not need to hurt yourself or be crazy to be a superstar. You don't have to hurt yourself to feel better, even though, like, yeah, temporarily you think it's going to cut the pain off that's going on in your brain. It lasts 2 seconds. The harder thing to do is to ask for help and to tell someone. To answer your question in long form, these are some of the things that I've been through. And then I stopped and I forgave myself eventually. But I think I forgave myself because I decided that I was human, and that made me feel better. I was like, oh, I'm doing this incredibly human thing, even though I feel like a plastic doll. Look at me, I'm so fucking human.
And now you're able to feel love and be loved, right? And know what it feels like and not try to burn it down because you don't deserve it.
No. When love, when that word gets bigger, when you love someone, and somebody like me, that usually inspires, like what we were saying in the beginning, the unconscious to go, don't do it, you're gonna get hurt, don't love, you don't deserve love, look at all the weird shit you've done, look how you've acted, look at what I used to say was crazy behavior that I now have extreme compassion for, not only myself, but other people who experience this. That L, as it gets bigger, as I love someone more, I am internally being yelled at by a voice that is buried inside of me. And it's hard, but it's worth fighting for. One of my favorite lyrics on this album is, every single day, yeah, I dig a grave, then I sit inside it wondering if I'll behave. It's a game I play, and I hate to say you're the worst thing and the best thing that's happened to me. All this stuff that made me start the album with, could you pull me out of this alive, right?
Yeah.
All that stuff, that's exactly the stuff that pointed to my humanity. It's exactly the stuff that pointed to my ability to make music. It's exactly the stuff that brought me back to who I am. So I guess what I'm trying to say, Zane, is if you're listening to this album and you're suffering in any type of way, just know that suffering within itself is a sign of your humanity, and you are not broken. You are connected to the whole world, and we are one giant body. We are one full entity, and the whole you is having a whole human experience. And there might be parts of your life that feel like completely shallow or robotic or ancillary and unimportant, and that's okay. But that suffering is a sign that you're real, and it's a way to ground yourself. Like, I've actually learned that when I feel that way, I can go, well, I'm a person, and this is very real, and I'm human. And even though for many years, because I've changed my hair color or my looks or my wigs or my outfits, I have somehow allowed myself to have a life where I've given the narrative away and it's been written for me, I can actually take it back by saying, no, I'm a human. And I go through very human things all the time.
That's what this album is. This album is a reclaiming of the dance floor. You opened it and now you're reclaiming it and it's yours, and you can dance all night if you want, right? Without people interrupting your flow. And that's what's really euphoric about this experience. And you had to go through that pain to get there, but I'm glad you're back there,
Yeah, man. Like, I got back there, and also while I'm dancing now, I'm dancing with my dad, not for my dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, everything's different. I'm not performing to fix anything. I'm living my destiny, which is to give gifts to the world. And I truly believe that that's what I'm meant to do. And I know like I do believe in God. I don't believe in God the way that, maybe through art throughout history it's been portrayed. But I believe in a higher force. And I used to talk to Blood Pop about it. There's a theory that the whole world was created by a feminine sound wave. And that feminine sound wave actually saw what they thought was their father below them and fell to be with their father, but it was actually a reflection from behind them. So they fell into an abyss and broke into two, and that then there were two galaxies that were born, and one was good and one was evil, and that the evil one is the one where evil things pretended to be God. And then we believed in them and we divided, and then we started to argue and hate each other. And that is the world that I believe I live on. But that my understanding of God actually is that it's a sign. I believe God began as a sound.
A sign from above. And I got you in trouble, by the way. Full disclosure, I may have sent a message to Elton last night saying, wow, this Lady Gaga album is fantastic. To which he responded, Dear Zane, I haven't heard it yet. Love E.
First of all, he's on a world tour. He was, not anymore, but he was on this massive world tour. And the fact that he even made a song with me on the album was like a super joy. But actually, I've kept everything on lock, and I'm super private about my music, and I don't play it for everyone. I keep it to myself, and I'm in so much trouble now. Like, my gay dads are gonna be so mad.
You guys sound so, both of you sound so good on this song. And it's just a joy to hear you come together, because I know that you've come together in many different situations, and he's been there for you because he is that caring, sharing, wonderful person. When he brings you in and cares for you, he really stands by that.
He's been my mentor for a long time. He's always challenged me to keep my head above water. And it's, something that I always appreciate is that he knows when I'm down. Like, he just does. And he knows because I hide, because I never want anyone to see me when I'm like that. And Blood Pop and everyone that I worked on this record with, including Morgan, when we were doing the interludes and the beginning and the end, right, of the album, I would just burst into tears or have a panic attack or a trauma response. Like, they saw me go through so much. I hide, but Elton's always really challenged me to take care of my artistry and to really take care of myself. And I really, really honor that about him. He is so uniquely special, and I cannot tell you how instrumental in my life he's been to showing me that you can go all the way in life. You can go all the way, and decades and decades of a career, and be authentic and be you and do good things in the world and take care of yourself and be there. He's such an inspiration. And for me, it's been so important because and I have also a very close relationship with his husband, David. And the truth is, I've had a harder time with older women, other than I would say, I feel like, Celine Dion has been such a warm and beautiful human being to me. But in terms of having a female mentor that goes this is how it's done, other than her and Carole King, who I, briefly met, who was very supportive and loving of my career, it's proven difficult for me to have someone in my life that would show me the way. And having Elton and David has been so wonderful. And I'm gonna send Elton the record because
You have to now.
He should, yeah. Elton, David, and the boys should hear it before it comes out. But he's gonna know what happened, when he listens to it, because he knows me and he knows the difference of me going, give me that fucking pink hat and tell everybody to shut up. I'm about to play guitar and sing Joanne, and he knows when I sit down and I go, okay, how can I take something that's extremely painful for me and find the one piece of it that's universally human and help somebody else, and then let's see what it sounds like. What does it sound like? I literally, Zane, when I make records, I can hear it, I see it. It's like the sound is colors, and then the words just come to me. They fly into my brain, but I literally go open the portal, talk to the sound, listen for God, listen, and then make the music, and he's gonna hear that, and he's gonna know that I made a choice, and the choice was not just to make this record for myself, it was to make it for the world.
You talked about not having a lot of strong, significant female role models that could guide you and having to go somewhere else to find that. And we talked a little bit about how supportive as a collaborator you've been to Ariana, but also there was a little bit of trade because she showed you support on a personal level. You brought BLACKPINK into this equation, who are obviously one of the most exciting groups to emerge on the world scene in a very long time. And it must be for you really nice to be able to, it must be kind of the ultimate closure to recognize what you didn't receive in kind, that you can share and you can show to others. I guess my question is, are you keeping an eye on the BLACKPINKs and the Aries of this world because of what you've been through?
100. I love Billie Eilish. I love all these younger artists. I'm there for you. I love you. I am not in competition with anyone. I want everyone to win. I'm I want to support and love. But that's how I feel about the world, Zane. Just generally, I feel that my rebellion in life is to be kind, to almost an annoyance to people. And I remember there was I forget what award show. I mean, Billie's won so many awards, and there was one night where she just swept a whole bunch of awards, and I said, send her some flowers. I wrote her a note, and for me, it's healing because I go, you know what, that hurt me that I didn't get that, but that's okay because I'm gonna be that for someone else, and me being that for anyone is also a gift for me because I go that means it doesn't not exist. It does exist, and do I want people to love the record? For sure. I'd love for people to love the record, but it's not just about the music, Zane. It's about who I am and what I'm trying to say. The first billboard that came out for this album said, "You are essential," right? I mean it. And I think that the simplicity of seeing something kind on your phone that's so simple, or just walking down the street and just seeing block letters that are telling you that you matter, that's who I am. This is not just about music. This is about culture. This is about how can I do something?
Investing in it, exactly. Investing in it, seeing the rewards of it.
Where do I fit in? What do I mean in this industry? And you know what? If my record is loved by people, great. And if not, I really hope that young female artists or young artists of any gender identity, any sexual identity, will know that I'm rooting for them and I love them. I think artists are beautiful. I think people are beautiful. And I think this idea that we're rooting each other on, cheering each other on, I think it's so important. And look what's happened in this world with SARS-CoV-2. It's this idea that we need to cheer each other on. I don't think that we've witnessed a time in history where this has felt more important.
Yeah, I agree.
And we should focus very much on those that need help the most. That's why I did the Global Citizen Special with the World Health Organization, is because I wanted to help the people that were the most in need. That's what the World Health Organization does. What we can see in all of this is, my God, the kindness. My gosh, everyone rooting for each other, everybody wanting to help each other, everybody relating that they can't go help their grandma. They can't, my grandma has cancer and has to go into the hospital for radiation, and she's in her 90s and she has to go in by herself. And my mom is outside waiting for her, but my mom waited and got tested to go. It's like, everybody has their thing, right? But there's some people in the world that already had nothing. Like they already had what we can't even fathom, just a quality of life that we don't understand. And then this happened. So what about those people? And then I think to myself, that's gratitude. That's where gratitude is sparked. And that's what can inspire people to help each other. And I hope that through this record, and I hope that through the conduit that is me, that I can do whatever I can to just, be a citizen of the world. I was born this way. This is how I am. I feel this way. And help to shape and shift culture in a way that is kind. That is my rebellion. That's what makes me a punk, is that I don't give a f that people think I'm annoying because I talk about doing good things. That's just who I am.
It's really great. I really enjoyed seeing you.
I enjoyed seeing you. I can't wait to be with you and dance to this music together. And I can't wait to see the world. I'm actually going to go. I'm sure that it's no surprise for maybe me, but I'm probably going to go to every gay club that I can find when I'm allowed to go, and hug and kiss every human that I come in contact with, that when it's safe to, because I just love people so much. And I hope that the world knows that although I may have said some things in this interview that imply that I feel or have felt in the past attacked or objectified in some way, that's not holistically how I view the planet. It's something I've learned is just one small piece of my experience. But holistically as a planet, I think we're really beautiful. And I think when hard things happen, we really rally and support each other.